Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Where To Next. It's another hot one today. It's about 105 in Belize today, actual temperature. This hill right here behind me, not too far from our property, has been on fire most of the day. I'm gonna turn the camera around real quick so you can get a better look at it. Hold on one second. So you can see that entire hill has been on fire most of the day. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now. Still on fire. It'll probably be on fire most of the night. So, wanted to get into, as a lot of you know, we're off grid. We're 100% solar. We're not, on the grid. We're not half and half. We're completely off grid with solar. There's a lot of things with solar going on around the world right now. As far as these governments are implementing heavy taxes, heavy tariffs, these electric companies are just like pharma companies. They don't want people to be able to be self-sufficient. They don't want you to be able to do for yourself. I have 2 clips that I want to get into first. I'm going to show you right now. The first one is from a guy that I personally know, Jeremiah, here in Belize. He's a solar installer, and you're going to see what he has to say, what's going on, pretty much with the government of Belize right now. And this is a developing country. So the government of Belize is really, really cracking down on anything that has to do with solar. They just don't want it. And the second video clip is going to be the Minister of Public Utilities and his reaction to the first video, which, if you see or think what I did, go ahead and, leave something in the comments, because it's normally government. This guy's, in my opinion, just BS. As soon as he opens up his mouth, on his nice clean shirt, he should have a name of who he works for, so we know exactly who he works for. Whatever company it is that he's working for, he's a politician. You can't trust him anyway. So go ahead and watch these 2 videos, and then after these 2 videos, I'm going to get back to it and pretty much going to tell you what this means for you, not only in Belize, but what's coming around the globe right now. So enjoy the 2 video clips, and I'll be right back with you.
Here at Running W Meets on the George Price Highway, the livestock may seem like they're taking some shade, but look closer and you'll see a 180 kilowatt solar array. It's part of the company's sustainable energy plan and works with these grid-tied inverters to manage the operation's energy needs, seamlessly switching between solar energy when it is available and BEL's power supply when it is not. And the man who designed this one, Jeremiah Allen, says with the present regulatory framework put forward by the PUC, he's not sure he would encourage any business owner to make such an investment right now.
So the legislation as it exists right now, it discourages future solar development, and those who have already invested in solar are not going to experience as good of returns as they would like to.
The main problem, as a group called the Solar Industry Alliance sees it, is what's called a demand charge, which BL will assess on solar energy producers, even at the household level.
They are going to assess and attribute a fee on your monthly bill that is almost impossible to predict. Many households, it could easily be between $150 to $300, some even higher. Even month by month by month, it will be impossible to predict what that's going to be on your monthly bill.
So here's how it works at the micro level. You set up your solar panels. A basic 10 kilowatt array will cost you about $25,000. With an inverter like this, you tie it into BL's grid, and during the day, when the solar is producing, you can sell them energy at 13 cents per kilowatt hour. At night, you buy from them at 35 cents per kilowatt hour. At the end of the month, you net off what you sold them against what they sold you. But the transaction doesn't end there.
But then there's that demand fee on top of that. And I think in many cases, for the average homeowner wanting to put solar in their home, it's going to net an increase in their monthly bill rather than a decrease.
It's going to end up costing you more
In many cases, it will. So if a homeowner were to install 10 kilowatts, which is roughly capable of producing somewhere in the range of $400 worth of electricity per month. So to reduce your bill by $400. Now that's during sunny hours. However, with the demand fee that comes in the evening, those $400 of savings could easily get squished down to $100. And if you spend $2,500, $25,000 on a system like that, approximately the going rate for a 10 kilowatt system, divide that by $100. You're talking about 250 months return on investment in that particular example.
250 months is 20 years.
Over 20 years.
That makes no sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
And that's why the Solar Industry Alliance put out this press release and sent a petition to the PUC to try and have the regulations structured in a way that does not disincentivize solar production.
And what I'm saying is that in many cases, it's not going to make sense. And I have already advised some of my clients to put their plans on hold because I can't honestly tell them this is a good idea for you.
And for those who have already invested in solar panels like this one, with the current regulations, it's cheaper for them not to sell excess power into the grid.
So most solar systems that you see installed around the country, including the one right behind me, have capability to produce excess and feed that excess into the grids to support Belize national grid. However, up until this point, they have been penalized for pushing power back into the grid. And so all of them have current blockers to prevent that power from going back into that grid. I have 12 different companies signed on with Belize Solar Industry Alliance who are part of the signers of this petition who are saying we can go flip a switch and we can provide power for up to about 250 homes around Belize right now with the existing installed base.
So right now, with this grid behind us, if they said, man, our country's in crisis, please let me share this excess, it would end up costing them more.
That's correct.
And so right now, for this developer at least, solar is mostly a dead end or very faintly lit street, even in an abundantly sunny environment.
I believe Belize has such ample access to sunshine. We have such an amazing opportunity to be independent, to be self-sustainable as a nation. We shouldn't be relying on imported energy.
It's amazing to me that what is being proffered as a solution, and everybody should say hallelujah, and indeed we're all grateful because the load shedding was killing us, is that we are bringing dirty diesel power fully back online. In a country of such abundant resources, this is really a regressive way of thinking.
It's a shame, really. If we would have been more proactive in putting in place a proper regulatory environment and a legislation 10 years ago, this country would already be covered in solar.
Okay, so on that first video, that was by Jeremiah, who's a solar installer, engineer, designer, anything that has to do with solar here in Belize. He's one of the top guys here in Belize. So on the second video, this is going to be the government's rebuttal to that report. Like I said, just keep your eyes open to what government says. I mean, honestly, this guy, he doesn't even make any sense from the time that he opens up his mouth. So, but that's just my opinion. I'm very, very, very opinionated. So let's go ahead and get into the second video, and then we'll finish up after that.
Useful solar power has been wasted because solar producing businesses and homeowners are charged by BEL if they export their excess production back into the grid at that. The new legislation has been introduced, which includes tariffs and disincentivized future grid-friendly solar power production. Your response to this?
Absolutely not. The new legislation is actually geared to opening up the energy market, the energy sector, and it is exactly intended for that, so that people who are now using solar panels on their homes, in their businesses, may have an opportunity to sell the excess into the national grid. So it's quite the opposite of the statement.
But the new legislation will discourage the uptake of grid tied to solar in Belize. Your response to that?
No, absolutely not. It is intended to have the excess go into the grid.
Speak to us on the idea of leveling the playing field in a manner of speaking to provide equity in this particular industry?
Listen, so I think this is for the first time in Belize, in the history of Belize, you see a piece of legislation that is actually opening up the energy sector. And I think that is important because it has been dominated so far by BEL. And so what this legislation does is really open up the fields for even new power producers. It opens it up so that people at their homes individually, people who want to use for their businesses, people who want to use for their industrial sites, can now link into the national grid. And so for the first time in our country, we're seeing where the energy market is being opened up to the entire public.
All right, so those two video clips concerning Belize, what does it mean for you if you're coming to Belize, if you're building in Belize, or if you own a business in Belize and you want to get into solar? Well, you pretty much heard it. You don't want to do it because the government is not going to make it easy for you. See, they're not going to come right out and say it, you know, because they never do, so they're going to hide behind a bush. But a lot of the Mennonite companies that are here, they're 100% solar. They are not on grid. They don't even sell power back to Bell here. But as you can see, Bell doesn't even want to buy power back, and they really don't care about the bigger companies here that can provide power in some of the smaller neighborhoods, which they can. There's companies here that have acres and acres and acres of solar that are running coconut plants and all kinds of farms, and they have so much excess that they could be pumping back into the community. But why would you do it if the government's going to charge you to do it? So they can say what they want, but at the end of the day, what it means is they don't want anybody being self-sufficient. They want complete control. And if they allow somebody else to sell them power and try and sell it back to you, well, they don't have complete control. So do they care about the blackouts that are going on right now? Nope. They care about the power setting that's going on right now? Nope. Do they care about little Miss Molly who's sitting there on a 105-degree day that has no AC because it's in the middle of power shedding right now today? Nope. What they care about is that dollar. So this is my advice. I got into solar a little bit early, but like I said, I'm completely off grid, so I'm in a different level than really what they're talking about in this video. In this video, they're pretty much talking about grid tied, which means you can use your solar during the day, and at night you're relying on the grid. Like I said, I'm 100% off grid. So if you're coming here and you're 100% off grid, you're not going to have any problems. The solar equipment here is a little bit pricey because it's imported, but it's getting ready to happen in the States. They're getting ready to start putting down all these taxes and tariffs on solar equipment coming out of China and Japan and everywhere else, and it is going to get pricey. So if you're thinking about getting into solar and you don't have it, get it now. But if you're thinking about coming to Belize and you're going to run your business off of solar and you're going to be tied to the grid, man, they are going to make it near impossible for you. Companies are running out of Belize right now, and it's sad because, you know, as Jeremy said, Belize is full of natural resources, especially sun, all day, every day. My 5 kilowatt system right now on an average day with the sun being up for so long is producing about 20 kilowatts a day right now is what it's producing, which is awesome. So think about how much power, if everybody had some solar, we're giving it back to the grid, there wouldn't be no power shedding. Belize would be independent in its energy. They don't want that. They do not want that, man. Let me tell you what, there's a lot of things I learned living here for almost 2 years, and one thing is, you know, it's the almighty dollar in control. If they control you, they control the money, so they're going to do that. So, you know, hopefully this video helps somebody out who was maybe thinking about coming in here, getting into solar. Like I said, if you're off grid, that's one thing. If you're trying to be grid tied, I wouldn't even bother with it. Do your research, stay informed, and watch what starts happening in the solar prices here within the next year. But yeah, if you're interested in getting solar and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, now would be the time. Just like when the housing market, you know, people were saying now's the time to sell your house. If you're interested in solar, and you haven't pulled the trigger, now is when you need to pull the trigger, because prices are getting ready to skyrocket, and that's all over the world. So have a good one, stay blessed, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.